What's going on, guys? Graham G.S. Matthews here with WhatCulture.com. Right ahead of Ring of Honor's 500th episode, we got a huge interview here today with Ring of Honor COO Joe Koff. Joe, what's going on, sir?
Hey, good morning, and thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Again, like I said, the timing is perfect. Ring of Honor's 500th episode on Friday. This is huge. There's just so much going on in the world of wrestling right now that when I heard about this a week or two ago, I couldn't believe it that it's been 500 episodes. But when you think about how long Ring of Honor Wrestling has been on the air now for over 10 years, it's kind of crazy when you think about it. It's amazing that it's finally here.
It's so amazing, actually. As you know, the Ring of Honor was we purchased Ring of Honor back in 2011.
Mm-hmm.
And we put it on TV because Sinclair Broadcast Group, obviously, is a television company, and we wanted to own content and provide content for our stations at the time, as well as other stations who chose to be part of the Ring of Honor network. So September 24th, 2011 was show number one.
Mm-hmm.
I remember it perfectly. It was in Chicago at Chicago Ridge Fieldhouse, and it was an amazing moment. And to think that this weekend, starting tomorrow night, actually, on Best of the Planet, which is our streaming channel on Stir and Plex, we'll see a 2-hour special, and then we'll actually preview the 500th episode. And then this weekend, it'll appear on all of our regular Ring of Honor channels, wherever your readers or your listeners watch Ring of Honor weekly.
Yeah, on Sinclair Broadcasting, and then days that follow on Fight TV, on Honor Club, starting early next week. So you can pretty much watch it anywhere, which is awesome. But yeah, like you said, starting back in late 2011, 10 years later, finally here. It's such a weird time for the 500th episode, too, because right now, and I told Matt Taven this when we spoke a couple weeks ago, EC3 as well, that this is, in the last couple of years, the best Ring of Honor weekly TV. And it's always been good, but like the hottest streak I've seen the show on in some time. And it's so great that we're getting the 500th episode during this stretch of shows, but it's also weird because we have no fans. So it's kind of like a weird situation that we're in right now, you know?
It is, and it's so interesting that you mentioned that, and I'm glad that Matt and EC3 also, said the same thing. What's interesting is that the show that we're seeing, and I agree, is just beautiful television, and again, we're a television program, actually was born out of the pandemic.
Mm-hmm.
It was because of fanless matches and our ability to have to compensate or to just reimagine the show without fans that took us to this point. And I'm incredibly proud of everyone involved, from the talent to our production people to our vendors, who helped create this experience and this ambiance that exists that has taken Ring of Honor really to, I think, one of the highest levels of TV production in professional wrestling.
Yeah, I completely agree. And again, I think you could put it up against any wrestling program right now, and I think it's just consistently ranked high up there. And I'm not just telling this because I'm talking to you, but I felt this way since it's been relaunched since the pandemic, that it's some of the best wrestling you'll see anywhere all week, which is great. And you mentioned how it kind of came out of the pandemic and kind of having to reimagine and kind of come up with new ways to create programming. Do you think we would have gotten to this point eventually had it not been for the pandemic, or was it solely because of that, making the most out of a bad situation?
I think it's more the latter, and it wasn't a bad situation. I mean, the pandemic was a bad situation.
Yeah.
But it was really opportunistic for us because it challenged us to use all of our assets differently to keep creating original content. Part of that 500th episode, which is huge, and again, if you're a TV guy or you're a TV person, you know that 100 episodes in the industry is huge. 500 episodes is unheard of. These were still 500 original episodes. Mm-hmm. This is not 500 episodes of TV that had reruns in it. We continued to create original content through the pandemic. They weren't live matches that everybody was able to see, but what we were able to provide was a very, very personal look at our talent. And I think that's one of the, to me, it's one of the joys of Ring of Honor, and it's also one of the key things about Ring of Honor is how authentic and how real our people are, and how respected they are as human beings and as athletes and professionals and artists in their craft. And I think those series of shows before we did the Pure Tournament allowed a very intimate, nice, personal look at the wrestler. Mm-hmm. And I really liked the way we put those together. And then we started thinking about, how do we make this more sports-centric? It's something that I've always wanted to have in our production, mm-hmm. because we treat wrestling as a sport. Our guys are athletes. They're performers, but they're athletes. serious about their craft, serious like any other athlete in professional sports. And I wanted that sports-centric feel. And I wanted it to look a little bit different. And we had the opportunity to do that because, first of all, this is amazing to me. If anyone would have told me this, well, if anyone would have told me anything about the pandemic, I probably wouldn't have believed it. Yeah. But you know what was so good about not crowds, and I miss our crowds, by the way, our fans are really, really terrific. But we were able to present TV without spoilers, which we were never able to do before. So people who are watching Ring of Honor television weekly now, and have been through the last year, have actually been seeing the show for the first time and not had somebody say what happened on it, which then people can make a decision to watch or not watch. So, and our wrestlers respected that, our crew respected it. I mean, it's the essence of honor, and it's so real for me, and I just love that piece of this.
Yeah, it's actually crazy that you mentioned that, because when we go back to a year ago, just with wrestling on the whole, when you say, oh, there's going to be no fans, people are thinking, oh, that's unfortunate, and obviously it is, and hopefully at some point we can get back to a normal life where we can get crowds back into the regular, but one of the positives I don't think a lot of people were thinking about were the lack of spoilers. Like, for example, when Shane Taylor Promotions won the 6-man tag team titles a couple of weeks or months ago, whenever it was a big moment, because it wasn't spoiled in advance, and on the weekly show, sometimes that can happen, whether it be a debut or a big match or a title change. We've got now the Ring of Honor TV in the last couple of months, which has been cool. In addition to what you mentioned with the character profiles, which I absolutely love, and you guys not only were doing that during the pandemic when there weren't original matches, as you mentioned, we're also getting that now on the weekly, not just once, but with 2, 3, 4 different people before each match. We get the character profiles, the sit-down interviews, with a match, for example, a couple of weeks ago with an LSG and Eli Isom, which was going to be a good, well-wrestled match anyway, but getting that extra layer of character development with some of these guys before the matches helps tremendously, adding more meaning and story and everything else to these matches, which is great. Was that another conscious decision to add that to the show and, like you said, make it more sports-centric, adding in the interviews before each matchup?
Absolutely. I mean, that's part of the creative concepting that we were doing. That what would set us apart, what would differentiate us, and it did. I mean, you mentioned that 2 match. Of course, LSG's been with us for a long time, and Eli Isom has actually started with us. But I watched the show like everybody else because I wasn't at any of the tapings due to age and just the way I chose responsibly not to be there. So I saw that match for the first time, like the fans did, and I have to tell you, you realize what a difference a year makes. I mean, Eli looked amazing.
Yeah,
it's like he grew up in this last year, and maybe because I was seeing him month after month, week after week, but to watch that development during this time, it just showed me, again, using Eli as just an example, but every one of my wrestlers is the same, that they took advantage of this time to stay in shape, to better themselves, and to come out as in a different presentation form, even though his skills, he's a technically fantastic wrestler. But I think you know what I'm saying. When you saw him, didn't you go, wow, look at Eli? I mean, if you're a Ring of Honor fan, you know what Eli looked like when he first started.
Yeah.
Very much the same as when Jay White, who's the New Japan champion, started. Yeah. You mature into your role, and to see that, but not having that year really opened my eyes to that, and to seeing some of our guys when I see them on TV for the first time, just what they've done in that year. They just took it so seriously, and I have so much respect for that.
Yeah, and I think another important thing, too, talking about the talent, and I mentioned this, I think it was with the Matt Taven when we spoke recently. I think a cool thing about Ring of Honor in the last year, especially since the relaunch, after the pandemic, since we've gotten the show back, is that you guys have managed more so than I think any other promotion, unless I'm mistaken, to not only hold on to your talent, but also bring in some new faces in, which I think is super key, because there's some other promotions that have either let people go, or, it's that constant recycle, that revolving door of talent. We have not gotten that with Ring of Honor, I would say, in at least close to 2 years for the most part, which is really cool, because sometimes in the last couple of years, you would see a Kyle O'Reilly move on, or an Adam Cole, or someone like that. We haven't seen that with Ring of Honor in a very long time, which I think is super cool. You have your core key, of talent there. All of them are doing fantastic right now. Has that been another conscious decision to not only hold on to that core talent, but also build upon that and bring in some new faces as well?
I think it says a lot about the company and how it's developed and what it represents to the people that are in it. I would never stop, and as I look around the landscape of all the other promotions, they are scattered with Ring of Honor stars.
Yep.
And everywhere. As a matter of fact, just this past weekend, 2 of the matches that were part of WrestleMania were matches that happened on Ring of Honor years ago.
Yeah.
Now, granted they were younger wrestlers and stuff like that, but it just shows you the depth of Ring of Honor. And I think what's changed in the last couple years is that Ring of Honor has really become a place where a performer, an athlete, a wrestler can feel comfortable being there. We offer a little bit different than other promotions as far as environment and experience, and I think that's attractive to many of the talent, which keeps them to stay. We've always respected the workload. We've always respected them as human beings, and I think it's coming back to bear that this is a good place. We don't need to go somewhere else, which is flattering, but. Again, I've never stopped anyone. I never said, please don't, we'll do this, we'll do that. Because I think, as people aspire to be where they want to be. And I think we should encourage them to do those things. Sometimes some people find that the grass wasn't really greener, and some people just excel in those environments. And I think I like having a piece of that fabric of their professional life. Yeah. I love having the fabric that is the permanent fabric. But, knowing I played a role in this specific person or in this specific person development is very satisfying.
Yeah, and it's funny that you mentioned that. I completely forgot about that. But yeah, 2 of the matches from this past weekend were not only just Ring of Honor talent, but Ring of Honor feuds. I mean, Owens and Zayn had a very long rivalry in Ring of Honor years ago. Even,
Correct.
Adam Cole and Kyle O'Reilly was the main event of Final Battle just 5 years ago for the top championship. And now we're seeing that now in NXT, which is awesome. Yeah. So it always goes back to Ring of Honor, which is great. But holding on to that key talent, I think it's been really cool too, as I mentioned. And you got like those top, I would say maybe 4 or 5 guys to build around. You have Roosh, Jay Lethal, Matt Taven, EC3's coming in. When you're putting together like the roster and the matches and stuff like that, do you have in your mind like 4 cornerstones of the company that you keep coming back to? I mean, Jay Lethal's been here forever, so I guess he would be an obvious one, and Matt Taven as well. Do you kind of have that conscious in your mind, or is it something that just kind of happened organically?
Well, I think it happens organically, and really, in all fairness, this is a creative. Creative really has much more of a play in that. But when you think about the Briscoes, who are going to be fighting each other in the 500th episode, these are two men, and they're wonderful men, that started with Ring of Honor. I mean, Mark wasn't even old enough to actually be in the ring from the State Athletic Commission that match occurred. So he was like Jay's valet or Jay's manager. Yeah. But to think of them and their history as a tag team. And because they're not on the hugest stage, although they certainly were in Madison Square Garden, which is a huge stage, I don't think they get their total due. They are probably one of the greatest tag teams ever. And they choose us to be their home. So that's a cornerstone for me. That's a foundational piece. Jay Lethal, of course, has held every title, and he's just so special. And again, I hate starting to mention names because then they read the review or they listen. I mean, they listen to the interview or read it and they go, "Well, how about me?"
Yeah, of course.
All my guys are like my children. They're all special in their own way. But yes, we have a core of people that really do represent the promotion in a certain way. But it's not. It happened organically. So much of Ring of Honor is organic. And it's. I know it sounds trite sometimes. But when you think about all the names we just kind of named that have gone from Ring of Honor and in other places, everyone would say, oh, my God, that's the end of that company. When we talk about Ring of Honor, we always talk about the brand Ring of Honor and what that represents as a wrestling style or as a wrestling promotion. We've always had our stars, and we've always had big names. I mean, where do we think Yes, Yes, Yes started? It started out of the organic nature of Ring of Honor, out of that spontaneous chanting that happens when people's expectations are exceeded, when the wrestler's work in the ring exceeds the people's expectation. Those things are all natural occurrences. You can't script that. And it's really the thing, it's really the one thing that attracted me, and I said at the time, I want to be part of this promotion, because to reach that emotionally, is saying that people are doing their jobs.
Yeah. And especially now, too, again, you look at the product, all this time and hard work is paid off with the weekly shows that we're getting on the show. And again, the pay-per-views have been great, too. Final Battle was a lot of fun, and the 19th anniversary show just last month was fantastic. Every single match delivered, so it's cool that we're getting that on the pay-per-views, too. But it's cool that you mentioned a guy like, Daniel Bryan, for example, where he started in Ring of Honor. I spoke to him about a month ago, and I spoke to him about matches that he would want to have. He specifically mentioned Jonathan Gresham, which tells me that not only him, but a lot of the people there and elsewhere, they're paying attention to Ring of Honor, so it's not just the weekly viewers. I think a lot of people, whether they say it or not, whether they admit it or not, are watching these shows, probably now more than ever before, with the product and the format of the shows. So when you hear something like that, that's got to be a compliment, right? That people are paying attention to the show. I mean, obviously outside of fans, but like a guy like Daniel Bryan, he knows where he came from, and he doesn't forget about his roots and stuff like that.
No, and he's I never had the pleasure because he was gone right before or a little before I got there. But I will tell you that respect is the highest compliment you can pay anyone. Mm-hmm. And for him to say that about Jonathan Gresham, and he deserves that respect. Mm-hmm. He is a technically gifted wrestler, really, really serious about his craft. And you know what? That would be an amazing match. Mm-hmm. It would be an amazing match because we would see all the skills like we did in the Pure Tournament. I mean, when you watch the Pure Tournament, which I think was our turning point of, our next generation of television, a pivot point, you're just seeing wrestling and wrestling the way I think it was envisioned originally and almost the way it used to be done as a sport and taking it seriously and the guys taking it seriously. And I think wrestlers watch us and our past and our future and our current. First of all, it's readily available. Yeah. I mean, it's impossible not to find Ring of Honor. You can watch it 24 hours a day on streaming platforms like Stir and Plex on Best of the Planet, plus our YouTube channel, plus Honor Club. If you choose to be a member of that, you have access to over 2,000 hours of matches of content. So it's impossible. But you know what? I think it brings people back to a part of their lives when they were discovering, they were still curious, they were enlightening, they were learning. And it's a good study. It's almost like a study, like an artist would do a study of a still life or something. You look at it and you can see it. You can learn from it. And I think Ring of Honor represents that to a lot of the industry.
Yeah, no, I completely agree. Again, now, especially now more than ever, and you mentioned before, I forgot to mention this when you had talked about the Briscoes and whatever, but I loved how that was incorporated into the Jay Briscoe EC3 feud. Even Jay had mentioned that during the video package, which was one of the best hype packages I've seen for a match in some time anywhere. But he had mentioned, I chose to stay here. I could have gone elsewhere, but I didn't. I'm very loyal. And it goes back to again, like you said, the honor of Ring of Honor, and it kind of reconfirms that, reaffirms that, whatever. But last question for you, Joe, before I let you go. I know we've gone a while here. This has been great, but I just want to talk to you about the show on Friday itself. I know we talked about it a lot already, but with the matches being made, you mentioned it yourself, Jay and Mark going one-on-one. We were supposed to get it last year at not the 18th anniversary show. It was the Ring of Honor Revival show. I forgot what the name of it was. I don't remember.
You'd have to check creative for that. I'm not sure either.
Yeah, I know that there was a show. I think it was over Mania weekend or something. But it was supposed to bring back faces from the past. They were going to face off there. We're getting it on Friday.
It was good. Yeah, exactly. I know it was past and present. It was something like that.
Yes, that's exactly what it was. Yeah, I think it was called.
Yeah, I remember that. That was going to be in Las Vegas actually. After that was going to be that was the Saturday show of the canceled weekend.
Yes, exactly, and that was the literal week that the world shut down.
When the world changed.
Exactly. Yeah, literally within days. It's crazy. But we're getting on Friday, finally, which is cool. And we're getting...
Actually, it's going to be Thursday.
Oh, Thursday. Okay, gotcha.
Sorry. Thursday. I mean, the 500th episode itself will start airing on Friday.
Okay.
On all of the channels that our Ring of Honor fans normally watch the Ring of Honor program. But on Thursday night, we're doing something on Best of the Planet, which is, again, available on Stir and Plex as apps. So we have a 2-hour pre-show, which will be from 6 to 8, and that's going to have 10 matches over the course of the last 500 shows.
Wow!
And you mentioned some of the names, and I'm going to tell you some of these names. I'm hoping people will go, I didn't realize that, as you had said earlier. I didn't realize he was there.
Yeah.
I didn't, because our history is so robust and so rich with talent like that. I think that'll be just and the ins and outs and the way it's produced, it's just a beautiful program. And the 500th episode, which features 2 matches, And these were matches that we asked Honor Nation. We have a group that we actually have. It's a Facebook, Choose Your Honor, and it's a Facebook group that actually talks about what they'd like to see and what they would want from us. And we're very interested in what the fans want. We always have been. And they chose 2 matches. One is Jay Lethal against aforementioned Jonathan Gresham, partners, tag team champions together. And then, of course, Jay and Mark going against each other. Yeah. So these are world event marquee matchups. And we're offering it on television over the air, which is why we got into the business in the first place. Yeah. Because back in 2010, there was going to be no regional or national wrestling on over-the-air television. Mm-hmm. And Sinclair Broadcast Group is one of the leaders in over-the-air linear television at the time. And we saw that as an opportunity to provide that. As we grew as a company, more markets got it. We're now seen across the country in different ways. So it's really exciting for us to be able to present that in its 500th form. It's beautiful. It's a great episode.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I'm just looking at the matches, some of these matches here being advertised for tomorrow. You got Scum versus Team Ring of Honor, the Bucks and Red Dragon. You have Matt Hardy and Jay Briscoe. World's Greatest Tag Team versus the Kings of Wrestling. I mean, that was from the main event of episode 1 in 2011, which is super cool. Styles, Joe, Cody. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. Like you said, for people that may not have been paying attention the last 20 years, because Ring of Honor is celebrating 20 years next year, which is crazy, but they may have forgotten that some of those people were there, so it's going to be cool to be able to relive that. I got to mention this too, in addition to everything you just promoted too, you got the watch party too on Honor Club, or exclusively for Honor Club members too, right?
Yes. Yeah. We have so many events. I mean, again, pandemic learnings and pandemic pivoting and opportunity is we've taken our social media from a standpoint of individualism and Q&As and meet these guys and watch parties, I think, to a new dimension. I'm so pleased and proud of how we've been able to do that. So yes, everybody, there's so much Ring of Honor to go around, and so much depth in Ring of Honor. It's just not like a match. I mean, if that's what you're looking for is an intro, a little mic work and a match, there's plenty of other places to get that. But when you want to get into the depth of who these people are, what they represent, what it means to them, and then get a match and mic that rivals anybody else, Ring of Honor is fantastic for that.
Yeah, absolutely. We're seeing that right now weekly on the show. It's fantastic. So there's a lot of stuff going on this week. It's beginning on Thursday, as you mentioned, with the 500th episode on Friday. It's going to be great. Like you said, Stir, Plex, and then early next week it's available on Honor Club, Fight TV. Like you said, it is literally impossible to not find Ring of Honor TV somewhere. The YouTube channel as well. So for anyone saying that, it is readily available pretty much anywhere. But Joe, this has been great, sir. I really appreciate the time, and looking forward to the 500th episode this week. Absolutely.
Nice to be with you. You've been most kind and gracious. I thank you for that.
Oh, thanks, Joe. I appreciate it. Best of luck with everything going forward. This has been great, so I appreciate it.